Hello guys, today I want to show you a new feature of Laravel framework in 8.52 version that was released this week. This sounds pretty complicated, so belongs to many things, support, touching, pivots. What does it actually mean and what is the use case? I will show you this improvement by Christoph, but also I think for many of you the feature behind it will be news too. So how to update the updated add field, for example, in the table without really doing it manually. So there's a feature called touch, and with this 8.52 it works better with belongs to many relationship. But step by step, imagine a scenario, some kind of admin panel form for updating the record. This demo project was actually an experiment of us trying to adopt Quick Admin Panel to Bootstrap 5 theme, and we decided not to pursue, but if you are interested, there's a GitHub repository of Laravel Soft UI Bootstrap 5 theme for free on GitHub, and I will link that in the description below. So that's a side note. But imagine the form where you update the records, and in the controller where you actually perform that update, you only just sync the belongs to many relationship, which is in this case role user table. In the database we have users and we have role user pivot table with many-to-many relationships. So you update the roles, but the user timestamp actually is not updated at that point. So let's make a change. Let's add a user as a second role. We save, it's successful, and in the database we have in the role user we have two records, but user table is not updated with updated add, like user wasn't really updated. And it may be fine, but maybe in some cases you want to update that parent record for the relationship that user was actually updated recently, right? And there are a few ways how you can do that, and specifically for belongs to many relationship there is an improvement. I will talk about that in a minute. But the most straightforward way, the first way, you can do something like user touch. That feature, that function of Eloquent, this is the Eloquent model, just updates the updated add field and nothing else. Or in fact we should do touch after that because maybe it will fail for whatever reason. And now let's try to make some changes. So we edit again, let's remove the user now, we save, and now if we refresh this record, it is updated. That's actually interesting thing what happened here. So updated add is earlier than created add because I've set created add as now in my just MySQL client in table plus. So now for me is time zone UTC +3, but Laravel project which I made update from is UTC. So that's why it's weirdly earlier because of time zones. But you get the point. So updated add is updated with now of UTC or whatever is the config of your project if you do touch on Eloquent model. Then if you have a relationship of has many and belongs to, for example, if a user would have a lot of projects and if you update the project and you want to automatically update the timestamp of updated add of the user. In this case in Laravel documentation there's a better example. So when someone posts the comment on some forum thread, for example, you want that post to be updated like last updated add because the comment is new, so the post must be updated, right? So for that, you can define in Eloquent model, in the child model, in the comment, just the array of touches. And then whenever you call save on the child method, the parent timestamp updated add will be updated automatically. It will actually call the same touch method that I've shown previously. And this is where we get to the newest Laravel 8.52 improvement. So when you have pivot table with many-to-many relationship defined with timestamp and with pivot separate model, before this change, the touch didn't work. So when we go to files changed, and by the way, I encourage you to sometimes take a look at the changes of Laravel version and how the changes are phrased with tests, with comments, with a lot of cases. So we go to test, and in the middle we find how that method is defined. But actually what we're interested in this one, extends Eloquent pivot, and let me show you how to generate that model. So by default you don't have a model of role user, I just have models of role and user separately, but you can do PHP artisan make model role user -- pivot, model created successfully, role user extends pivot, not the model, then you define the relationship of public function user, returns this belongs to user class, and then you define the pivot table in the user model not just as belongs to many, but belongs to many with some things on steroids. So you define using that class, so role user model class, and then also with timestamps, which will automatically add the timestamp fields to the Eloquent. But of course, we need to add them in the migration as well. So I will remigrate the database in the original database migrations for role user, pivot table. We don't have any timestamps here. And of course, this should be shortened. It's some code generated by our quick admin panel, which is just for unique identifiers. But anyway, table timestamps like this. Then I remigrate the database fresh, so PHP artisan migrate fresh seed. And now in the database, the user table has one new record, the same admin, and role user has timestamps. And this long preparation is for the case of when we add something to the pivot table with role and user. Let's take a look at the database again. It adds the timestamps, right? But we can define the touches on that pivot model. Let's close down. So role user, we can define touches, array of relationship that should be automatically touched, which is user, the same that we defined here. And now in our user controller, we can remove that user touch. And let's try to update the record again. So edit and remove some role. And we save, and I will prove to you that updated at is refreshed, although we didn't specifically touch it. We just provided the touches array on the pivot model. And by the way, if pivot model is something new to you, it's used in many-to-many relationships. So this is, I've opened the official Laravel documentation. You just can create the pivot class, so extends pivot. And then it's basically used to be able to use Eloquent on the intermediate table. So instead of doing user roles sing or user roles attach, anything that belongs to many users, maybe you want to have something individually, so like role user update something. So to access that pivot table with Eloquent model, you can create that as a pivot. So that's it, a lot of things. So I wanted to talk about 852 news, but with that, I've touched like 5 or 7 different subtopics. So I hope it was useful, like small Eloquent lesson on touch, updated at, and pivot tables. And if you want more lessons like this one, subscribe to the channel because I'm posting videos daily now, publishing daily now, and see you guys in other videos.